You guys already heard the scripture today. We come out of 2 Timothy 2, and we started at verse 20, and we were reading to the end. So verse 20 to the end, I'll read it again for those who weren't here with us earlier. 2 Timothy 2, verse 20 until the end. It says, "Now in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and silver, but also of wood and clay, some for honorable use, some for dishonorable. Therefore, if anyone cleanses himself in what is dishonorable, he will be a vessel for honorable use, set apart as holy, useful to the master of the house, ready for every good work. So flee youthful passions and pursue righteous faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on the Lord from a pure heart. Have nothing to do with foolish, ignorant controversies. You know that they are great quarrels. And the Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but kind to everyone, able to teach, patiently enduring evil, correcting his opponents with gentleness. God may perhaps grant them repentance, leading to a knowledge of truth, and they may come to their senses and escape the snare of the devil after being captured by him to do his will." Now, these words speak volumes to us as Christians.
Amen.
Before I begin, Lord, I want to ask you to make the message heard. Erase me from the messenger and make the message heard. Let it fall on fertile soil so that it may grow in somebody's life, so that we can make sure that we can lead towards you, Lord.
Yes, Lord.
In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Amen.
All right. So some of you that may know my family, you know that we moved into our house earlier this year, actually earlier this summer. And there are multiple processes to getting a new house. Before you even begin looking for a new house, you have to save. Because see, you need your money for your down payment. You need your money for your closing. You need your money for the realtor. You need your money for everything that you want to do. So you have to save. When we sit here and we look at what's going on today, the first thing you have to do after you get to your saving is you have to take a good look at your credit. And take a real good look at your credit to figure out what it is that you've invested in your life. To figure out what it is that you've done for your life. A lot of times when you're going into buying something, you know, you can get credit for certain things. But most of us not walking around with $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 to just pay for a house. So you're going to have to look at your credit. You're going to have to get a loan. You're going to have to get to that point. Now, when you sit there and you think about what it is that you're doing with your money and the way that you spend your money, you have to understand what your purpose is. See, after you get your credit straight, after you saved your money, there's still this search for the house. You still have to look for the right house to fulfill the needs of your family. You have to look for the right house in the right neighborhood. You have to look for the right house with the right schools for your kids. You have to look for the right house that'll get you back and forth to work so you're not encumbered. You can make it to work on time. Right. So it's a big search in where it is that you want to go. Because you have to know what it is that you need, not just what it is that you want. Amen. Sometimes we think that we want things, but in truth, we have no idea what it is we need. See, when we were shopping, we thought we needed a 4-bedroom. And my wife had a lot of non-negotiables that she wanted in this house. A lot of non-negotiables. And after a while, we kept looking. It was like, oh my goodness, we kept bumping our heads up against the wall because it was almost impossible to find these houses. We kept looking for things. And if you know anything about the market right now, it's crazy. See? But the truth is, there has to be some non-negotiables when it comes to the Bible and being a believer as well. Amen. You have to set standards for yourself. You have to make sure that you understand you can't compromise yourself and make yourself fit into something, fit into a house where you're not supposed to be. Now, she just said in the audience, it's a bidder's market. It definitely is. This is the thing when they go out there, the sellers right now are winning hand over foot when they're selling their house. And what's happening in this market is you're going to get into what's called a bidding war. So if the house is selling for $300,000, that's the listing price that they're asking for. By the time it sells, it's going to be closer to $400,000, $500,000 because people are bidding each other to get to this house. And you know, if you're selling your house, you're going to take the best offer. So when you get out there, oftentimes you won't win. And the fact that you won't win is very, very depressing. When I say it's depressing, it is debilitating when you're out there trying to buy a house. So you have to learn how to live with that disappointment, but you also have to know that there's a reason why you didn't win that house.
Yeah.
There's something that makes it so that you can figure out why that house isn't for you. I promise you, we had seen this house one time and it was on Tuesday, and I thought it was the greatest house on earth. I went to that house, went and bid, and they were asking a nice price, and we bid well above the price. We put in a little exception clause, and people bid us, and we can outbid them, and we did everything we could to make sure we get this house. We didn't get it, and I was depressed. I went back and looked at that house a couple weeks ago. The fences are falling down. the windows are broke out. The person who had taken this immaculate care of the house now was weeds in the front yard. I came out as a baby. That house wasn't for us. That house was not for us. That house was terrible. We tried to get this one house over on Centerville and Kentsville, and I was really excited about this place. Had a lot of square footage. I didn't really like the yard, but I was willing to settle. You understand? But when you ride past that thing on certain days, you can smell the landfill. And it's powerful. So understand that I wasn't supposed to be in that house. When you sit there and you look at it, you go through all these things and you will meet up with what's going on. You will find something that will slow or deter you. Even when you get to the closing can be a challenge, because that money that you saved up for closing might have to be used to make a down payment. But there's also the negotiation between you and the person you buying the house from, who might say to you, I'm not fixing X, Y, and Z after your inspection. I don't want to fix this. And the reality is that they're in a position that they can say that.
Right.
Because everybody out there is willing to settle for it. They do these things called inspections without the ability to fix it. So you have to go through the inspection is just for informational purposes. It used to be you went to the inspection, 40 things was wrong, 41 of them they're going to fix when they sell this house. Now you go to the inspection and you get there and it's like, okay, I can ask for them to fix it, but they might just say, you know what, don't worry about you. I'm going to go to this guy who don't want me to fix nothing. And that's what's going on in these closings. You have to have more money saved for your closing because you don't know what's going on. But this is the portion that I want to talk to y'all about. I just did a whole lot of talking because I had to vent. I'm sorry. The portion I want to talk to y'all about is what was in the Bible. What was in the Bible was the idea that you have to eliminate some things from your life in order for you to progress in life. And that's the same thing that happens when you actually get this house and you start moving. The packing. I'm still venting, but it all correlates now. The packing. See, this is where today's sermon rests. See, we were searching for our house for literally 3 years. Every year we came close to a closing. And every year we began to pack. I don't know if any of y'all like me, I hate packing.
Yeah.
I absolutely detest it. See, the funny thing about packing though is that then and only then do you realize how much useless stuff that you've accumulated.
Yeah.
See, this is where you begin to purge. See, if I had a title today, I do have a title today, it's called Time to Purge. So today's title is Time to Purge. I'm going to go ahead and pause for Pastor Faith. Time to Purge. See, when you get to packing, you will find that you have some things that are broken. You'll have some things that are useless. And when moving to a house, sometimes you want new stuff. It's time to get rid of the old. The definition of purge, when you come into it as a verb, y'all know I was an English teacher, I had to do this. You need to rid someone or something of an unwanted quality, condition, or feeling. Bob had to help me purge Martha of the terrible guilt that had haunted her. You need to remove a group or people considered undesirable from an organization or a place in an abrupt and violent way. That means it has to be done right now. He purged all but 26 of the Central Committee members. There are some synonyms for purge. Get rid of, clear out, sweep out, expel, exclude, eject, evict, dismiss, sack, oust, axe, dispose, eradicate, root out, weed out, and even scour.
Wow.
Physically remove or expel something completely. That's what purge means. But we all have problems when we get to purging. I know I have problems when I got to purging for packing. It starts with comfort and uncertainty. There's certain things that you're used to. I got a pair of jeans on right now. They're my favorite pair of jeans. The belt loop busted on. I won't get rid of them because they're so comfortable. I'm comfortable with them. Sometimes you know you're going to buy something new and you're not sure how it's going to fit. You're not sure that you're going to like what it is that you have. Sometimes you don't want to purge because you have emotional attachment and memories to something. And then sometimes we don't purge because it's just an effort or a lack thereof. I'm too lazy to get rid of it. I don't feel like going to dispose of it. I don't want to take this bag to Goodwill. I don't want to find someone to come pick this table up. It's a whole lot of things that you have to do. But there are some times that people make purging easier. See, relationships sometimes end up one-sided. And you start to get to your friends or sometimes your family, and you start to notice that they're not always there for you like you are for them. They don't quite match the energy that you put out. When you start to look at that, that purging becomes a little easier. It's always easy to get rid of somebody who is constantly pushing you away. But what about those people that you want to hold on to? See, when people find out that we were moving, everybody was super happy for us. How many of y'all think that they offered to help us move? You hit them up like, hey, we're moving on this week. Oh, I'm out of town. You don't even know what weekend it is. Yeah, I'll be out of town that weekend too. Because that's what happens. Because a lot of people are happy for you, but they're not happy to help you. So you got to purge those people from your life. And see, once you move, there was the packing, but shoot, for this time, what pissed me off a little bit more, sorry I said that word, but I meant it, was the unpacking. Man, I'm trying to tell y'all, we went to packing. I was so frustrated this time. I told my wife, I said, baby, I'm not packing anything. We're going to buy them guys who come and pack your stuff up for you. So I said, she was like, well, it's going to be some more money. I was like, I don't care. I don't care. She started packing stuff up. I was like, I'm not doing it. She's like, well, I want to make sure, I don't care. You go ahead and do what you want to do. She was like, well, you want to touch your drawers? I was like, they can put them drawers wherever they want to put them. I'm not packing nothing. And I promise you they did it. They came over, they packed all the stuff. Problem is, they didn't label not near about this. So when we get to the house and it's time to unpack, I promise you every day was Christmas. What's in here? Oh my goodness, what's it? We picking up everything. We had no idea what was going on. I mean, and they thought they were doing something by putting them in certain rooms. Man, we got a 2-story, it's all the way in the back room, supposed to be in the kitchen. So I got to go carry my fat tail all the way up the stairs, grab this, bring it all the way back down. By the time I get it there, half the box is supposed to be in the kitchen, the other half the box is supposed to be in the garage. It was crazy. But it's an ongoing process. And what happens when you do that, even as you unpack, you still have to go ahead and realize that, again, you got to this house, and some of the stuff that you did pack that you thought you needed, that you thought you wanted, was useless for this house. That's where it is in life. It's going to be a lot of things that are going on in your life, and you're going to have to understand that it's useless in your life now. If you want to make sure that you're making these changes in life, you're going to have to purge. You're going to have to do things and make some things happen. See, sometimes old things don't fit in your new house. There's no room for them. You may have gotten a bigger house, but the way the house is shaped, it's not even going to fit because it's nowhere to put it. Sometimes you got to get new couches. For those of y'all that get into relationships, y'all need to get a new bed. You got to get rid of some of that stuff and move on. Because there are some things that may be attached emotionally, may be attached to memories, may be attached to something that you used to do that you no longer want to do. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that it'll be easy. Because cutting out old habits takes time. Sometimes you have to change where you go to change what you do. I admittedly will tell you, I used to be a social drinker. Being a social drinker means that anytime you go out and do something socially, you drink. In order to stop drinking, I had to stop going out. I mean, and I don't know what it meant, but the math of it kind of worked out really quickly. After a while, I was like, y'all want to drink? No, I don't do that no more. And it was not something that I tried to do. I never said to myself, hey, I'm going to quit drinking. Because I never felt like I had a drinking problem. I never felt like I was out of control drinking. I was the person who would drink, and people were like, did you ever drink yet? Yeah, I did. I had about 17 of them. It's okay. But the reality was, I no longer desired it because my lifestyle had changed. In order for your life to change, in order for you to get closer to God, in order for you to do things that you're supposed to be doing, you have to do it with intention, to do it with purpose. But sometimes you have to purge yourself from situations. Sometimes you have to cut out friends. Sometimes you have to cut out family. But it's very, very hard when they don't want to be cut out. Mm-hmm. When they want to still influence your life, when they still want to be around, and they start to tell you certain things like, hey man, you changing. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm supposed to. Mm-hmm. Because see, in life, there's two things we get every day. And that's chances and choices. Mm-hmm. Notice that both those words have 7 letters. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of other words that all have the same amount of letters too. Hate and love both have 4 letters. Mm-hmm. Enemies and friends both have 7 letters. Lying and the truth both have 5 letters. Cry and joy both have 3. And negativity and positivity both have 10. What you have to do is take a chance to make the right choice. Every time you get a chance to make the right choice, the question is, what will you choose? What will you do? What will make that choice the right choice? See, ever since I got into the ministry, a lot of people, they treat me differently. At first, I was bothered by this. But now I'm pleased with it because I am different. I understand that I'm different. And being different is okay. Being different is actually spectacular when you start to look at the world, because being different makes you exclusive. When you start to become exclusive, you start to separate yourselves from others. You start to purge people from your life. And to be honest with you, yes, we're leading a world where we're trying to bring people with us, but sometimes we got to get away from people so that we can understand how to lead. Mm-hmm. See, I've been told that some people think my path isn't true and that I'm just going through a phase. Well, let me tell you that I had to take a stance on those type of people. I'm happier than I've ever been in my life, and unfortunately for some, I've had to tell them not to disturb my peace when they're at war with themselves. See, some people are mad at you because you are not suffering the way that they want you to. They're upset with your happiness. I'm not here to tell you that purging your life will be easy, because it won't. See, it's a hard work thing. And there's a difference between being a hard worker and someone who works hard. See, situations and circumstances, they kind of dictate how hard you work. You work hard because you can see the end product. A hard worker works regardless of the situation. Can you be committed to the process that you're doing without being emotionally attached to the results of what you're doing? Because this will not happen overnight. See, the funny thing about life is that the sun, it don't stop for nobody. See, you wake up and the sun's going to be out there. When you go to bed, the moon's going to be out there. The sun's going to shine. The moon will always be there. And these days will keep going by. But the question is, are you going to sit there and watch the sun move, or are you going to make a move so that you get closer to the sun? And when I say get closer to the sun, I mean closer to the sun, the Father, the Son. You're going to get closer to the sun. See, it won't happen overnight. It'll take time for people to see the change. And it'll even take them longer to believe the change. But let me put you on some real game. You ain't never heard a tree grow. You just keep going. You don't have to talk about it. You never heard a tree grow. You just see one day that it's blossom. See, I'm telling you to grow. Use that as an acronym. GROW. G-R-O-W. Get rid of old ways. That's all you got to do. Get rid of old ways. See, the older I get, the more that I realize the importance of walking away from people and situations that threaten my peace of mind, my self-respect, my values, my self-worth, and most of all now, my religion. That's what ushered me towards my peace. See, tomorrow's not promised. That's why it hasn't happened now. Yeah. See, just a few short years ago, we went to work, and at the end of the day, we told people, see you tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Once the doors closed, we walked out fully expecting to be back at work tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Only we didn't. I don't know about your job, but March 23rd, 2020, our school doors closed indefinitely. For some of us, it was almost 2 years before we entered back into the buildings. When I say nothing in life is promised except death, if you have the opportunity to play in this game called life, you have to appreciate every moment. A lot of people don't appreciate that moment until it's past. And some of the most underrated blessings are assuming that when you walk out the door, you'll return home late. Or when you close your eyes, that they'll never open again. Understand that that's a blessing. And before you can get to the blessings, before that happens to you, you have to get closer to God. Again, if you look at this verse, it says, now in a great house There are not only vessels of gold and silver, but also of wood and clay, some for honorable use, some for dishonor. That means that everything that's out there in the world is there. But some of the stuff is good, some of the stuff is bad. It depends on how you use it. Therefore, if anyone cleanses himself of what is dishonorable, he'll be a vessel for honorable use. So you got to get rid of anything that is negative. Set apart is holy. Understand, that's the part about being exclusive. You will be set apart once you start to get rid of all your negative energy. Useful to the master of the house. God doesn't want you if you're not doing it right. God doesn't need you if you're not doing it right. There's nothing that God can do with you if you are not useful. You cannot shovel up the ground if all you got is a fork. You got to be the right tool. So make sure that you're the right tool, ready for every good work. So flee youthful passions, pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on the Lord from a pure heart. Understand that it said that you have to flee youthful passions. When you know better, you do better. Amen. Everybody understands that when you're young, we give excuses for our youth because they mess up. Oh, they just young, they don't know any better. Right. As you start to know better, you have to do better. You have to get away from the things that you used to do. Amen. It says, having nothing to do with foolish, ignorant controversies. I promise you that I used to interject on every conversation that came my way. And unfortunately, some of those conversations were very ignorant. Some of the things that people talk about, that we argue about, that we sit there and we spend all our life and we let our heart rate get pushed up for, has nothing to do with whether or not you're going to survive today. But we entertain these ignorant conversations. Right now, we out here talking about whether or not Brittany Griner should be in jail 9 years or not. That's the talk of the day. You go into the barbershop, you got to sit there and listen to it. I ain't trying to be funny, but our conversation ain't going to change it. It's not. Maybe if we change people's actions, maybe we won't put ourselves in those situations. Maybe if we sit there and we school our children to make sure that they don't make these dumb decisions, then these things won't happen. And I'm not here to pass judgment on Brittany Griner. I'm definitely not. Because she is definitely being used as a political pawn. However, the situation sets, if she wasn't doing it, she wouldn't have been there. And I can't sit here and act like, it's okay. Because it's not. Because if we can sit here and convince others to get rid of our ignorance, get rid of our past ways, get rid of these, then we'll be in a better place. And I'm not saying that life is fair, because there's still going to be times you do everything right and something still is going to happen that's wrong. But you got to understand that God is going to look out for you if you continue to push what you're supposed to be pushing. It says, they breed quarrels. That's why we argue in the barbershop. I promise you that men and women, or anybody, I don't want to say men, because when we get to argue about sports, it gets ugly sometimes. And I promise you, we sit there and argue like we done played the game. We sitting up here mad at somebody and what they think of this game that we have no bearing on. Football season has started. It has started. And right now, I promise you, there's people walking with a new pep in this stuff because football season has started. But the reality is that blood pressure will go up on some of us because our team's on sucker shit. So we got to sit there and make sure that we let that not ruin our days. It says the Lord's servant I'm sitting there stumbling over my own word. The Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but kind to everyone, able to teach, patiently enduring evil, and correcting his opponents with gentleness. That means that when you are sitting there trying to educate somebody on something that's going right, be conscious and compassionate of what you're saying. Because a lot of times, everyone in this room should understand by now, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Amen. God perhaps grant them repentance leading to a knowledge of truth, and they may come to their senses and escape from the snare of the devil. Understand that the devil is setting traps for us to fall in. If you are arming yourself with this roadmap that God has given us called the Bible, you can avoid these traps. You can avoid these traps. After being captured by him to do his will. Again, if you get captured by the devil, that doesn't mean that God won't rescue you. It's okay to make mistakes. To continue to repeat them is the problem. When you move into your new house, because that's what we're going to call this, you're moving into your new house, you're going to purge some things. You're going to try to make sure that everything is perfect. every house project begins and they never seem to end. They're almost as reliable as dishes and laundry. If y'all don't know what I'm saying about dishes and laundry, for those that have to do the dishes, for those that have to do the laundry, they are always there. I don't care how many you clean, how many times you clean, the next day you're going to have some more dishes and some more laundry. My father-in-law keeps telling me to slow down. He says, you have 30 years for all these house things. Because truth, your mortgage is 30 years. So he's like, you ain't got to get it perfect overnight. You got 30 years. But the reality of this house that we're talking about, which is your house, your temple, you don't got 30 years.
Amen.
We don't even know if you got 30 minutes.
Amen.
So you got to get right. Make sure that you're purging yourself of everything that's out and needs to be out of this house. Because you have to get your house in order now.
Yeah.
When it comes to your spiritual temple, there's no better time than now. Accepting God is good, but it's not enough. You must remove the negativity from your life. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to purge.
Amen.